Welcome to Growin Old. Build a soil, take and bake soil building kit. Let's build some soil.
Camera set to show, from seed to crown, the miracle, let everybody know. Growin Old grows cannabis at home. Raise your rigs, raise your glass, bring the green into the dome. Let's all gather, stream the rows, let the whole world know. Let's show you grow. Growin Old grows cannabis at home.
Okay, so in our last episode, we got our seeds germinating. So they're back there germinating. I've got them in a tent. But so now we need to get our soil ready for once those germinate and move on besides seedlings and get ready to get potted, then we can use our living soil. And we're going to do it right here. And like I mentioned in the opening, this is the Build a Soil Take and Bake Artisan Soil Kit, Soil Building Kit. And we'll have links to all this stuff in the description below. But let's get started. Now, when you go to build your soil, you're going to want to pick a place that's, you're not going to have to move it a lot, because that's a 100-gallon pot that comes with the kit, and you're going to have 7 gallons or 70 gallons of soil in there. So that's going to be pretty heavy. So you're going to want to have it put in a place where you can move it. Because if you're going to do like us, and I'm going to just mix my soil in this and move it into different pots. Now, if you're going to grow in this, you'll want to do it inside of your tent or whatnot. But let's get started. And with this kit, of course, like I mentioned, you get this 100-gallon pot. But one thing out here in the garage, because it's cold here, and I don't like putting things on the cold garage floor, I've put some stuff down to raise it up off the floor. And depending on where you put yours, you may want to put something down, because at the end of this, I'll wet it all, and there may be eventually a little bit that'll seep out the bottom. So again, let's get started. We've got that. With the kit, it comes with 4 cubic feet of peat moss, and we're going to dump some in here right now. We'll start with the peat moss. Now, if you're like me, and you live on a farm, or you feed chickens and other livestock and stuff, you've used these things before, so you know how to grab it and peel them off of there. So let's just do that. Just toss that over to the side. Now, what I've done, I've got an unfair advantage. I've set this up maybe a couple of days ago and let it kind of come up on its own and stand on its own. When you get it and you unfold it, it's going to fall over and stuff. But once you start putting your ingredients in, it'll hold it up. But let's start here. Okay, where is that? There it is. And then I'm just going to kind of stuff it out and try to move this thing out a little bit.
Phone glows, call to arms, the growers are returns.
Okay, so that's 2, and I'm going to add a third one, and I'll save the fourth one for later on. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of flatten it out, and then we're going to have to moisten it because you can see the dust coming up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to moisten it up, and we're going to use a sprayer. And what we normally want to moisten it up with is, I guess the rule is 10% by volume of your soil or your pot. So this being going to be 70 gallons of soil, we're talking 7 gallons of water. But what we're going to do is we're going to go half that, so we'll go 3.5 gallons of water. So I've got my 3.5 gallons of water in a bucket. And then what we're going to use, because we're going to use this, it's called Kila Extract 20. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this because this is it's a wetting agent. And think of it, in my mind, I think of it like if you go to an aircraft hangar, the fire suppression system, it's all foam. That's what this is going to be. We're going to put it in here, we'll stir it up. There might be a little foam, and what it'll do is it'll kind of thicken up, and it'll spread the moisture out, because if you just went straight water, it just goes straight down. This will kind of go, and it'll go slow. So let's mix up that, and this will be 3.5 gallons. It's 1/8 of a teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon, and what I'm going to do is just round it up, and because it's 3.5, I'll do a teaspoon and a half. And stir it up. Now I don't know if I can get this in front of the camera, but there you can see the foam. I'm hoping. So now what we'll do is we'll pour it in the sprayer, and hopefully we won't make a mess. Okay, so I've put it in my spray bottle. Of course, it's not very good, but what we want to do is we want to spray it down, kind of moisten it, but we don't want to make it into like mud. So we want to spray it down a little bit, get it a little moist, so that we can keep the dust down, and then we'll keep mixing.
YouTube live, the night ignites, voices cut the foam.
And then we just do this. Now, what I've read, because if you remember, this is our first time ever doing this, but they say a good mix is 1/3 peat, 1/3 pumice, and 1/3 aeration. Well, when we get into this one, what this recipe has is it's about 50% peat, and then it's probably about 30% pumice and 20% aeration. I knew I was going to say that thing wrong, but that's how they've gotten that broken down. And this is the part. It's the part that's going to take a while. Just get it all kind of moistened down in there. Okay, so that's enough. Okay, so what we've done is we've got that in there. So next, what we want to go with is we're going to go with the pumice. And you get 2 cubic feet. 2 cubic feet of the pumice. I'll cut this open. And what this is they say it's 3/8, 1/4 pumice. And if it was 3/8 minus, then it would be like sand. This is nice, this here. And we'll do that, and that's the first part, aeration, right? Aeration. And I just want to make it kind of level. And the reason we're using pumice is because pumice will last forever. A lot of people like to use the perlite, and perlite is basically manufactured to make it light, just the bottom line. So it's lighter, easier to transport, thus more profit. And what happens is it eventually, it'll just wear out and it floats to the top of your soil. So now all your soil is just packing down. There's no aeration down there. So that's why we go with the pumice, because it'll be permanent. Okay, so I only added 1 bag of the pumice, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer it. I'm going to go, I got the peat moss down there. I got pumice down there now. That's aeration. And then eventually I'll get to compost, because those are the three parts we got. Compost, aeration, peat moss. So now I want to add, not the pumice, I'm going to add the rice hulls. And what these are is where we get our silica. We're just going to pour those all over there. Isn't this fun? I'm just going to layer it down. And what we're doing, and why I'm layering it, is once we get it all done, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to reach in and we're going to have to stir up this whole entire bag, and that way everything is getting mixed up. If you were going to plant in this, I think you could just throw it all in, and the plants would seek out the nutrients you want. But since we're going to take the soil out, we want all the nutrients all over. So that's why we're doing that. Plus, when you reach in, you can feel each different layer. Once you get down, you can say, okay, that's rice hulls. Oh, I feel rocks, so that's pumice. So I must be down to the next layer, the peat moss after that. So there's that. And next, we're going to go with the Ole Mountain fish compost. Okay, so this is a cubic foot of our compost. This is the Ole Mountain fish compost. And what this is it's hardwood and whole fish. And it takes the hardwood a long time to compost. And what they do is they throw the fish, the whole is Alaskan fish. They throw the whole Alaskan fish in there to to help it with that process. And what that's going to do is that's going to make this really super black. And we'll just see it. Okay, so here we go. Check this out. Time to take off my watch. But look how black that is. Now, you'll want to check it out. You'll want to break up some clumps and stuff in there. Now, remember, this is compost, and it does have some yard waste in it. So what you want to be careful of is you want to look, and like right there, that looks like a piece of wire. So you're going to find something, but it's not a big deal. But you want to break up all these clumps. And look how black that is. What is it, like humeric acid? And then you want to spread it around too, because we're making that layer, remember.
From city flats to country sheds, we open every door. Growing up.
Okay, so that gets your hands really good and dirty. So we've added that. Next, we're going to add another bag of peat moss. Got it all written down so I don't forget something. I guess I gotta. And this would be our fourth and final bag of peat moss. And now, let's pull up my pants. I'm going to add my biochar to the top of this. Now, this biochar, they've, what do they call that? They've inoculated it with the Rootwise Microbe Complete and some amino acids and stuff, because you don't want to just dump old char on there, because it like leaches the nutrients. But once you get them all inoculated, what it does is it helps it give nutrients to the soil. So we're going to spread it around, and you don't want to use a whole lot. But for instance, here, this is a 2-pound bag, and if you went with the math, 5% would have been like 3.5. So we're pretty close. And because it all came in this kit, we'll just use it all. Now I'm just going to spread this out a little bit. And then we're going to wet again. We just want to get it all wet down. But you don't want to use it all, because we still got another bag of pumice, we still got some compost, and we still got some minerals to throw down before we do the final wetting. So and another reason you want to wet it down right now is because, we're going in layers, so we can layer it, we can wet it in between, then it won't have to all come from the top. It can work its way down from there. Now, I was going to put on gloves to do this, but I thought, you know what? My first time building living soil, I should get my hands dirty. Okay, so now the last bag of pumice. Again, this is our aeration. I'm gonna keep saying that because I have a hard time saying it. Part of our recipe. So now let's spread it out, just like we did before. Now I just thought of something. You could have yourself a soil building party, invite people over, and you all could stick your hands in there and kind of spin it up. Okay, so now the last thing other than the minerals and such, let's add some worm castings. So, the thing with the worm castings is they're going to be double bagged. Oops, there's a different bag. Is it over here? Guess there's not. Yeah, it's just not coming off of there. There we go. You know what? Oh, here we go. Worm compost coming up. Black gold. Look at that. Holy cow. I'll be honest, that's quite amazing to me because that is black, man. Oh, that is nice. And again, you want to get your hands dirty, break up some clumps. Whew. So now, let's start adding our nutrients. First, I'm going to go with the mineral mix. Ooh. I believe this is a 27-gallon bag of the mineral mix. Okay. Lots and lots of rock dust. Look at that. Let's spread that around. Big old rock. That rock wasn't quite dust. I'm going to use the Clack Mass Coots Build a Soil Nutrient Kit. And again, everything comes in this kit. It's already measured. Here we go. Check this stuff out. Let's mix this up. Kind of spread it out. And you know what time it is? It's time to wet again. Okay, so I just mentioned wet it down. First, this has all been, you can look, I'm breathing a little hard because I'm old, but we didn't even got to the hard part yet. Now, I'm going to mix it. Once I mix it, I'll wet it. We'll add some of this gnarly barley just on the top, and then we'll give it its final soak, and then we'll leave it sit. We'll cover it or something like that, but let's go ahead and start mixing it.
Roots like iron, leaves like flags, we rise and testify. Click the link, join the legion, camera set to show. From seed to crown, the miracle, let everybody know. Growin Old grows, cannabis at home. Raise your rigs, raise your glass, bring the green into the dome. Let's all gather, stream the rose, let the whole world know. Let's show you grow, Growin Old grows, cannabis at home.
Okay, so I've got it pretty well mixed up. Wendy and I, we worked on it pretty hard. Quite the workout. I've got it all kind of put down now. I'm gonna wet it before I put on the gnarly barley. Okay, to get a good soaking in here, because I still got water in that bucket that needs to go in here. So we can use a lot now, because now is when we want it to start soaking down in. Now we're gonna add our gnarly barley at the end. We're just trying to get it all over. Okay, so, and then we wet again. Really, what I should have done was I should have spread it out just a little bit. Got it all over. Now we just spray it all down. And what I'll do is I'll wind up emptying this whole thing on here. So I'll finish watering all of this in a little bit so we can get you on your way. But let's talk about some things here. Build a soil. They're pots. They got the plastic lining so that they can hold in the moisture. It holds up. It'll breathe at the top, and it's fabric on the bottom, so you can breathe there. And on the bottom, what we're going to use this soil for is, I'm not going to grow in this pot. I'm going to use a tray to grow, and I'm going to use this living soil in it. But I'm going to use a build a soil tray to grow pot, and we're going to try those out. And I've got 2 5x5 tents, so I'm going to try to set a tray to grow up in at least one of those, maybe one each, or I may try to set up in a 13-gallon build-a-soil pot, because we'll see what those do. One last thing I want to mention before we go is, if you remember the germination video when I was making my soil, and you reach in there and you squeeze it and just a little bit comes out. Now that's what you'd want to do here. And if you see here, I'll just go down a little ways, and we can reach in just down a little ways and squeeze, and I haven't got enough water in there. You can tell, because it's still dry. So we'll finish up drying, but that's what you want to check, is to make sure that not a lot of water trickles out, because if a lot trickles out, you can't get it out. So you can always add more water. You can't really take it away. But that's that. I'll finish up. There's links to all the equipment we use today in the description. I want to thank all of our subscribers and viewers. Keep the comments coming. Please, any comments on the building soil, just give us a shout. We love the comments. Thank you very much.
Phone glows, call to arms, the growers are returned.